Easter, everyone. We're so excited to be here with you. Thanks for joining us. We're watching all the comments and see you from all the different places. So thanks for being here.
Happy Easter. Our goal, if you don't know, my name is Jordan Weaver. I'm the pastor here at Shiloh Ranch. This is my wife, Lacey. Our goal is pretty simple. We want to create a simple path to Jesus. And the most effective way to do that is by taking the Bible and taking it apart and understanding it the way that it was written, in the context that it was written, so that we get a better view of Jesus. And that's our prayer today, is that wherever you're at with your family, I mean, this is an unprecedented year. It's an unprecedented season. We'll probably never have another chance this side of heaven to be all in one place like this. And so we're actually really excited that we all get to jump on here, albeit through digital, but all be in one place. Our prayer is that you have an experience with Jesus that's just eye-opening, that's life-changing, that you leave this experience this morning with a better understanding of Jesus and the saving knowledge of who he is.
Yeah. If you get a chance, please like and share this page. You can start a watch party from your page.
It's the purple button.
It's the purple button. It just helps your friends to be able to see what's going on here. Also, if you get a second, go like the YouTube page, subscribe to that. We're doing some cool stuff.
Selfishly, it is so cool to get to see comments. I know there will be a lot of people that will watch and won't say anything. That's fine. But for us, selfishly, it's so nice to be able to have you guys just jump on, tell us where you're from, where you're watching from. I think it helps everybody kind of network and connect and know that where everybody's at. And so, like I said, sharing isn't even so much about your contribution. It's about allowing yourself to be known and seen by other people in the same community. So comment if you want to use the hashtag Shiloh at home. Also, what was I going to say?
I don't know. I'm looking at the board.
Guess. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to start the Easter service. Happy Easter. Love you guys. Wish we were here in person, but we're glad you're on here.
Happy Easter. Oh my God.
That was so much louder than I expected. Let's maybe never do that again. I thought it was going to be really quiet. The backstory is we've had whatever. I think my kids brought that up like 6 months ago.
Oh my God.
I'm going to need resurrected.
Good morning. My name is Mary McLean, and I'm the worship director here at Shiloh Ranch. And we're excited about Easter. We're sad that we can't be with you all in person, but we're excited to be connecting with you online.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We may never go back to this platform again in this form. It's such an interesting season to get to take advantage. Like I said, our goal is not ourselves. Our goal is not the energy that we get from being together. We love all those things. But our goal is that we want you to see Jesus more clearly. We're going to go into a time of worship. Like I said, when you like and share, what that does is it allows your friends to see kind of where you're at. These little small groups and gatherings and people gathering from home. Let's make sure to enjoy that we have this season right now. Even if it's not what we would have chosen, we have it. We're home. We're getting to spend more time with friends and family and people that we're close to. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't realize how much fear of missing out I had in my life that is just like gone. It's been good. It's not all been negative. And so hope we get to take advantage of that.
Yeah, we're going to go back into not back into a time worship.
We're going to start by going into a time worship.
And then we'll be back in just a minute.
See you in a minute. Oh, I was going to say before we log off, make sure to stay on after the service for the Q&A. Mm-hmm. We love that. That's been for us. That's been one of the best things that we've done in this entire thing is getting to hear questions. So during worship, during the sermon, be writing your questions down. If there's anything after the service, stay on. Don't log off. We want to do the Q&A, and no matter what the questions are, questions that maybe we wouldn't have the opportunity to answer live, we're getting to do here in this format. And so be taking notes. As you're taking notes through the rest of the service, let us know kind of what your thoughts are, what your feedback is, and we'll answer all those at the end of the service.
You unravel me with a melody, and you surround me with a song. just exalt you today. God, we lift you up to the highest praise because of what you've done for us. God, the sacrifices that you make. We just thank you for your love. We thank you for your mercy that sets us free every single day. God, help us to lift you up in praise every morning and every evening. We love you. Amen.
We're about to go into the sermon. I cannot reiterate this enough. If you're watching online, like this is supposed to be, it's designed to be interactive. And I know that sometimes when you get to church, we're just geared towards like sitting and taking in whatever coming. This is such a new format, and I think we're starting to kind of warm up to the idea. But finally, it feels like people are starting to interact and go, "Oh, wait a minute! I get to be a part of this experience." You guys play a crucial part in this entire church experience about trying to simplify the concept of Jesus and who Jesus is. And so as we go into the sermon, I would just encourage you, keep commenting, keep writing down questions for the Q&A, keep liking, inviting your friends. I am loving the interactive aspect that we just can't do if it's live.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we're going to go into the sermon. Mary, that's a good thought. I appreciate it. All right, we're going to go into the sermon. It is Easter. It is Easter 2020. We will always remember this day right here. We will always look back on. I'm curious, even a year from now, we will look back and we're just like, remember the room just being empty, the online, which by the way, been awesome. But that energy of the momentum of people being here, and like just at a selfish level, the energy of a room that's full when people walk in, people you haven't seen in a while. At a personal level, the energy of someone who's maybe experiencing the concept of Jesus for the first time. There's something about that just kind of just like a shot of energy. And so this is probably the first time at a selfish level that I'm like, oh, the online's cool, but I miss the energy level of that service. But here's what I want to do. I want to make sure that the clarity, for the sake of Easter, here's what I do know. There will be people that are tuning in from a safe place, just a safe place to observe, we just want to get a view. We're not saying yes, we're not saying no, we just want to get a view. And so I want to be very clear that on this sermon, more than ever, there is not preaching, there's not emotion, it's not excitement. If you're watching this sermon today, you're going to get just a really clear understanding of the gospel, of the message of Jesus, without my opinions, without the distractions, and actually, what's crazy, without the distractions of a full room. Let's get started. I don't want to try to reduce the story of Easter, but I want to simplify. Let's just simplify the story to one verse if we can. I want to take the entire concept of Easter. The reason that we are all right here on this platform, whatever that looks like for you, is that Easter, I want to put it into one verse, and that verse is Galatians chapter 5, verse 1. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. There is an impossibility in that verse. And I know it sounds simple, but the reason it sounds simple is that we are so familiar with the word freedom, but we are impossibly disconnected from the concept of freedom. And I have to explain that so it'll make sense. Jesus is saying that he's trying to offer us a freedom, and our natural knee-jerk is to go, great, we know what that means. We think of freedom from a human perspective. Lacey, one of the things that Lacey says all the time is, I just want to be free. I want to be free. She's claustrophobic, and I think it's worn off on me. I think I'm claustrophobic now. I just want to be free. I don't want to feel indebted. I don't want to feel like restricted. I just want to feel free. And like today, I was on the four-wheeler illegally on the road, driving my four-wheeler to go look at it and see a friend, and like the sun's shining. It's going to be 70 degrees here today. Perfect weather, like the dogs are out running around. I'm on the four-wheeler, and if you were to ask me, Jordan, what does freedom feel like? My human response would be that moment where I'm restrictionless, I'm free, I'm doing what I want, I'm out seeing friends. That to me is how freedom feels. America, the 4th of July, we think like baseball, we think of, for me, like the four-wheelers on the roads, my kids running around, being free to live their lives. A lack of maybe a restriction, a lack of authority, basically freedom to run our own show. And so when we go to Galatians and Jesus says that the point of what he's doing is freedom, it would be so easy to go, how is that Easter? How is that what Easter is about? Because we're very familiar with freedom. How does that have anything to do with the cross? We're in a series right now about open windows, about there are seasons of life where a window will open and we'll see things more clearly or more truthfully or more realistically. And that moment doesn't last forever. You know, after you lose someone close to you, a window opens, a perspective of like, hey, there's things I need to be doing maybe a little better, or a little different, near-death experiences, things like that. But the problem is that with human freedom, it opens a window, but to the wrong picture. When we say, I want to be free, I just want to be free of restriction, it opens a window that maybe if I can just run my own show, if I can have my own life, if I could be my own boss, if I could be financially free, if I had forget about you money, there's ways that we could envision our own freedom, and the window opens and it looks really tempting, and we go, that is really what I want. I want freedom from the restriction. But here's the problem. Let me say it this way, and this is where I feel like we're starting to pivot. We're going to pivot more into the sermon, is that if your freedom starts with, I will be free, or I feel free, or I am free, as long as, then whatever follows as long as actually has the power over you. So at times you can go, I feel free when no one's in charge of me. As long as I'm in charge. What you're saying is, I am free, but only in this small vein of life where I am running my own show. And then what that opens the door to realize is, oh, wait a minute. Maybe what we have as Americans, just at a national level, what we have is conditional freedom. Freedom that feels good, but can only exist in a certain scale. That maybe when God says, I have a desire for you to be free, that it goes beyond even our patriotism. As long as whatever follows, as long as, has the real power over your life. And if you would say that freedom requires you to be in charge, see how limited you've become? I'm only free when, I'm only free if, you could easily say, I'm restricted to, or I'm relegated to my freedom in this small amount of space. John chapter 8, if you put this in biblical terms. Verse 31, he's talking to the leaders, the Jews who believed in Jesus, and he said this. He said, if you hold to my teaching, you are really my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Jesus says it's going to be the truth that will open the door into freedom. And they said to him, we are Abraham's descendants, and we have never been slaves of anyone. How can you say that we shall be set free? Do you see exactly what's happening? Jesus is saying, I desire for you to be free. And they go, we already are. No problem. We're already free. We're the descendants of Abraham. How free are you? I'll tell you how free we are. We are bald eagles. We are baseball, American flags, guns. We're as free as it gets. See, that's the peak. That's the pinnacle of our concept of freedom is we are America free. We're American dream free. That's how free we are. Almost like we don't need your freedom. Just go, I want you to be free. They go, we don't need your freedom. Has anybody, have you ever seen Monty Python, The Search for the Holy Grail? He goes, we're on a search for the Holy Grail, and we want to come in. And he goes, we already have one. And he goes, what? He goes, I told them we already had one. We don't need your grail. We have one. And it's crazy. A stupid reference, but as crazy as that is, it's like Jesus, the Son of God, is saying, I want you to be free. And they go, we don't need your freedom. We already have our own freedom. Here's what's crazy about that. They were not free. They were under the control of Rome. They were under Roman rule, but they were in a position to self-regulate. They were restricted in their freedom, but they didn't feel the restriction of their freedom because they lived in a place where their personal lives, they were self-regulating. And as long as they were in control, as long as they were running the show, they felt what? Free. They felt free, even though they know that there was restrictions overhanging their freedom. They didn't feel the restrictions because they felt free in their self-regulation. Okay. They weren't free. They just felt free. Let me say it this way. If you're up to your eyeballs in debt right now, no judgment. This isn't a judgmental thing to say. But if you're up to your eyeballs in debt, you can be living in the freedom of the United States, but you are a slave to whoever you borrowed the money from. You get up every day and you go to work and you give someone else what you worked for that day because of a promise that you made that gave away your financial what? Freedom. Do you see how quickly the ground starts to get shaky? You live in the freest nation in the history of humanity, and yet you are a slave to the person or the company or the entity that you borrowed the money from. Maybe say it this way. You're not totally free. You just chose your own master. Because you chose the master, you felt like that you were free. I'm free because I chose that as my master. They were slaves, but they had a badge. And when I say a badge, you think of like a police officer. A police officer, he will show you his credentials. He has this little badge, and he'll show you his badge, and he'll say, because of this badge, there's a power represented behind this badge that gives me an identity. It gives me an authority. It gives me a power. And I think sometimes if we're not careful, Jesus says, I came to give you freedom, and we go, oh, see this little badge? This little badge says that I'm free. What we're seeing right now is what's crazy, what's scary, is that what we're seeing right now is that as a nation, how quickly things could change. How quickly the freedom that we just assume is this God-given authority that we have that can never be taken away, we're at least seeing like, whoa, we are not as on solid footing as we thought we were. But we have this badge, this American flag freedom badge. And I love living in the U.S. This is not to diminish what the U.S. represents or what it stands for, but it's also not what God was intending when he said, I want you to be free. Imagine this. Imagine you live in a communist society. Imagine you are sharing Jesus with someone under a communist regime. Does your gospel work for them in that setting the same as it does for us in this setting? Because if your understanding of Jesus is not global, then it's not complete. The purpose of Jesus coming to the earth was not to make all of us Americans. Jesus was offering this. This is a big portion because he's telling them, he goes, I'm offering you freedom from, let's try to catch this. Let's try to make sure we catch this point. Jesus says, I'm offering you freedom from yourself. Because so many times that's our measure of freedom. I'm only free if I'm in control. And Jesus goes, I want to give you freedom from yourself. And they said, we prefer freedom for ourselves. We want a freedom that promotes self-reliance and self-independence. We want a freedom that pours into that. And Jesus goes, I want to give you a freedom that goes beyond it. Could I say it this way? They were slaves to their own definition of freedom. They were free. They were completely free within their own little parameters. But they were slaves to those parameters. They weren't free beyond the little understanding of what they thought freedom to mean. Verse 34, Jesus replied, very truly I tell you, everyone who sins is a slave to sin. Super important that we catch this. He says the sins, plural. Anybody who is sins, which is all of us, is a what? Slave to your sin, singular. He says you are a slave. I don't care how free your government says you are a slave to your sin when you are in sins, plural. Now, a slave has no permanent place in the family, but a son belongs to it forever. So if the son sets you free, you will be free indeed. We will have to get back to that concept. It says when the son sets you free, you're free of your sin. Not free of your sins, because, if you know anybody that follows Jesus, the sin is we try to work our way out of it. That's what sanctification is all about. He says it is through Jesus granting you freedom that you are now no longer a slave to your sin. My money is on that they didn't even hear that, because the minute he said freedom, they went, yeah, we got that. We already have one. If you're listening today, if you're listening on Easter, if you're listening in 2025, this will still be true, is that you are not free until you are free from your own self-gratification. And I know this is kind of a thought exercise, but so many people who think of themselves as being free are limited to their own self. I'm free as long as. I'm free so long as. I'm only free when. I'm only free if. And it just orbits around self. Sin nature, what Jesus is warning us is that a sin nature runs the show, but it hides itself as your own will. So it's a cell that you've chosen. I'm free. I chose this cell. This is the cell I wanted. I had a friend in rehab. I went and saw my friend in rehab. And one of the doctors said about him in that moment, he said, what addiction will do is it will take over. It'll start making all the decisions, and it takes the you, the most true identity you. It'll take you, and it puts you in a little box, and it puts you in the corner, and then you are no longer making the decisions, the addiction. You're operating as a slave to the addiction. And the addiction, it doesn't feel like addiction. It doesn't feel like slavery because it's a cell that you chose. You're in a box, but you think that's where you belong because that's where you chose in the beginning. And so what they're saying at rehab is you have to be careful that you don't choose your own cell and become a slave to the choices that you made. See, that's what we don't even consider. Like, I'm free to do what? Whatever I want. Well, what does that lead to? We just don't ask enough questions. We just stop short. I'm free, and we think that's enough. I'm free to what? I can go fishing if I want. I can drive down the road if I want. No. But then what? Well, then I'm making my own choices. And what happens if you make your own choices? Well, then I live my own life, and I live my own consequences. And if you suss this out, what you realize is that Jesus is giving us this red flashing light that says you don't understand. You are free, but in your freedom, you are choosing to become slaves again. What if our goal is to be more free than the American dream? What if Jesus says, I want you to be more free than the American dream? I want you to be so free that even if you lost your national standing, even if you moved to a place that was restrictive and you were no longer in charge, what if you had a freedom that could go beyond circumstances? And you go, what does this have to do with Easter? Everything. This is what Easter was. This is what Easter was about, is a freedom that could go beyond our circumstances, because when Jesus found us, our circumstances were very, very bad, and we got very, very numb, and we were just sort of surviving and getting through life, and Jesus goes, I'm offering you freedom, and in our dull, diminished state, we go, we don't think we need it. We think we have our own. Luke 23:39, we're going to go to the cross. And it's interesting because you see two people next to Jesus. And when I say two people, I don't just mean two individuals. I mean two completely opposite thought patterns. Yes, both criminals. Yes, being punished for their crimes. In a lot of ways very similar, but in a lot of ways very different. In a sense, it's almost an honor to think that you would be crucified next to the Son of God. I mean, it's an opportunity in a sense. I know that sounds kind of sadistic, but I just mean like there's only two people that can say they hung on a cross next to Jesus. The first one of the criminals, said this. He was hurling abuse at him and saying, "Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us." What an interesting thought. Save me. Why? What if Jesus would have said that? What if Jesus would have said that to the first criminal? Save yourself and save us. What if Jesus would have gone, why? So I can be free. Why? So I can make my own choices. Why? So that I can run the show and run my life. Why? Because at the end of the day, the first criminal was convinced someday self would prevail. That if given enough time, if given enough opportunity, that somehow, despite all the odds, beside all the evidence, this is a guy that is literally bound by his wrists and his ankles to the cross where he would die, where he would perish. His road of self was ending. He was at the end of the road for self, and yet somehow he had such confidence in the concept of self and self-freedom that he thought with one more chance it would be different. He said, Jesus, I'm interested in you only so much as if you can benefit this self-freedom that rules my life. Ooh, wait a minute. Now it's starting to feel like slavery, isn't it? Oh, he was a slave. He was a slave in his mind, and he was a slave in his spirit to this concept that I will figure this out. I'll do this. I will never, ever. I will never set down my own personal will. I will never set down my own personal sense of pride that I have to be in charge, even in the presence of God, even as my story is ending. He's going to save you and save me so that I can get back to what I really wanted. Where is that confidence coming from? Such unearned confidence that someday self could prevail. Do you see it? The window is closed. His window is closed. He's looking at Jesus. He's looking at the physical act that was actually the precursor to the spiritual act. that is going to save all of humanity. And here's what's so insane to me is he said, get down off the cross and damn us all. That if Jesus would have crawled down off the cross and rejected the crucifixion, this guy would have perished and we all would have perished with him. See, that's what self does. Self takes the whole universe and closes the window till all we can see is ourself. He didn't care if everybody perished. He just wanted another chance at himself. He knew he was going to die. We all know that we're going to die. We all know that someday this story ends, and we are so preoccupied with this concept of freedom for self, freedom to run our own lives, to make our own decisions, that as a human being, we're capable of looking at the Son of God, dying for our sins, and go, I'm not interested in that. Just give me more of me. I am limited. I am a slave to self. What that proves also, by the way, side note, is that you're not saved by proximity. This idea of like, I believe in God. He was looking at Jesus and wasn't saved. He was next to Jesus and wasn't saved. Remember last week, people were bumping into Jesus. It's not your proximity to Jesus that saves you. It's not knowing that Jesus exists. It's not knowing a pastor or being at a church. Your proximity to Jesus is not what saves you. I went to church as a kid. And? See what I mean? I added it to my collection. Your collection of what? Things that I gave myself. It's nothing but self. He's actually only saying what everybody else is saying. Maybe you're not on a cross. Maybe you're not being crucified. Maybe you're not at the end of your road of self. But if you are resistant to Jesus, what you're saying is the same thing, is that I will never, ever, ever surrender myself. I can never give myself. I'll never give myself. Why? Because I want to stay free. I want to be independent. I want to make my own choices. Men, I'm looking at the camera. Men, I'm talking to you because we're the worst about it. I have to be free. I have to run my own show. I'll never surrender myself because I need to be free. Help me with that or leave me alone. Verse 40, but the other answered, rebuking him, saying, do you even fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed are suffering justly for what we are receiving. These two guys could not have been further apart in this moment. He's saying, I'm aware that my pursuit of self has left me with no more badge. I don't have a badge. See, the first guy's like, this is my badge. It's me. It's self. Give me what I want or get out of my way. I would rather die. I would rather die than give up my badge. And the other guy goes, this badge got me nothing. This badge got me nowhere. I'm being crucified for something that I did that I deserved. Indeed, we are suffering justly for what we are receiving. What we deserve for our deeds, but this man has done nothing wrong. He took off the badge and he goes, this has no authority. What happened? What happened? The window opened. See, by looking beyond self, when he looked beyond himself, he goes, I can't save myself. Freedom to run my own show, that's not freedom, that's bondage. If I have to be in control, then that's not freedom, that's captivity. And he takes off his badge. And when he takes off his badge, what does he see? The window opens, he sees Jesus, and he goes, that's the solution right there. A God that goes beyond self. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And immediately, when we run out of self, what happens? We get desperate. See, that's the reason people don't want to give up self. You have to set down self. No, because if I set down self, I'll be desperate. But it's people who are desperate that look to Jesus. And Jesus goes, see, we're all desperate. We just don't all see it. We don't all see the windows are opened or closed. The people who are open to see Jesus realize how desperate they are, and then they turn to Jesus as a solution instead of as a restriction. Jesus as a solution instead of Jesus as a restriction. Truly I say to you today that you will be with me in paradise. Let me say this. There was room that day for two. There was room that day at the right and at the left of Jesus. There was room that day for two. What does that mean? Jesus' part was offered to both. Jesus was saying, whosoever. Jesus would have not turned away one thief and accepted the other. The offer was, there's room for two. There's room for you. There's room. And it came down to choice. One chose self. One chose Jesus. You can't. Here's the problem. This is the problem. This is what, when I say that Galatians chapter 5 is the encapsulation of Easter, let me say it this way, is that you cannot choose freedom for yourself. You can choose circumstances that make you feel free. You can choose self-regulation. You can make a lot of choices that make you feel better in the moment, but you cannot choose freedom because you are limited in your own humanity. You cannot choose to be anything else. You are limited in your you are limited to die. You are limited in your restrictions. You are limited. You are constantly limited. You cannot choose freedom. Godly freedom, not the kind of freedom that the Jews defended themselves with that says, I'm from America and I'm free and I'm in charge and I'm self-regulated. I'm not talking about that freedom. The freedom that God was offering cannot be chosen. It has to be issued. It has to be issued. It has to be given. The freedom has to be given to you by your master. And I know that as an American and as a male and as an independent kind of a person, I don't like the reminder that I'm constantly serving a master. Oh, I'm not. I'm a self-made man. Maybe in the moment you feel like you're running the show, but you are aware of your own limitations. Even if you're distracted by that, if you don't like thinking about it, you will not live forever. You will meet your master. Godly freedom is not earned or chosen. It is issued, and it can only be issued to you by a master, by the one that is in control of your life. The only freedom you can really have has to be given to you. Listen to this. Matthew chapter 6:24. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. You will either choose God as the ultimate authority in your life, or you will choose yourself. You cannot choose that. You and God will work it out as a team. See, when Jesus came, he didn't come to save you from the devil. Everybody thinks it was Jesus versus no, the devil already had you. He came to save you from you. Jesus came so that you had a choice, like the thieves on the cross, so that the choice would be present. Because if not for Jesus, the second thief had no option. If it wasn't for Jesus on the cross, the second thief would have had no option. They would have both been stuck in the same boat. One didn't want it, one did. But because of the presence of Jesus, the choice was offered to both and only one chose it. See, the pursuit of self, it's the pursuit of self that leads to every form of bondage. Every single form of sin and bondage, it's a pursuit of self. I, me, this, I, and the window's closed. Why is the window closed? Because you don't have to look outside the window if you're just constantly looking at yourself. There's no window necessary. You're in there with yourself, and you're just trying to figure things out for yourself. Self will not give you freedom. Self can't give you freedom. You can't even pick yourself up, right? Like you can't lift yourself up. You have to lean on something else. You can't pick yourself up. You can't give yourself freedom. You are too limited in your humanity to grant yourself freedom. Sin will never give you your freedom because when you give yourself to sin, sin wants more and takes more. And you know this. It takes more and more and more and more. Can I read Galatians 5 again? It is for freedom that Christ has what? Set us free. See, when you surrender yourself to a Jesus that died for us, and we say, you make the decisions, you control my life. I don't want to be in control anymore. I don't like the results. Maybe I like the four-wheeler on the road moments, but I don't like that when I'm so self-absorbed, what it leads to, maybe over the course of weeks or months or years. Maybe you're years down this road of self-reliance and you look up and you go, I don't like how isolated this has left me. It says when you surrender to Jesus, hey, it's you. The second thief on the cross, hey, I'm getting what I deserve. Jesus is not getting what he deserves. You did that for me and you surrender. It says that he then grants us our freedom back. Our freedom is then issued to us by someone who has the authority to do so. Your freedom is given to you from a higher source than yourself. Do you see the difference? It is for freedom that we've been set free. Jesus goes, I set you free. Why? Why would Jesus set us free? Is it so that we can be over here, do this, or I'm going to set you free, but it's an indentured servant. I want you to do this, and I want you to do that. No. Jesus goes, I'm going to set you free. Why? So that you can live free. Free of your circumstances, free of yourself, free of the consequences of your humanity, free of all of that, and it's actually a freedom that continues. Our clock is not winding down. I mean, you hear people like right now, it's crazy how often you hear the words, people are dying. Everybody's trying to shame everybody. People are dying. People have always been dying. This is not news. It's just like sometimes we get reminded like, oh, that's right. Life is limited. Life on this side is very limited. It's very fragile. It is very valuable, but it has always been limited. Jesus says your clock in this freedom that I'm issuing you, your clock is not winding down. You got to make the best of the moment. You got to take advantage. You got to really see it through. You got to blah, blah, blah. How many times do you see people living in this panic? I only have a little bit of time. You only live once. No. You live forever. Your clock is not winding down. Your clock is winding up. And Jesus is saying, I'm giving you a freedom to relax, to have peace, to realize that sometimes your influence on somebody else is more important than your freedom for yourself. Like God has given you a freedom that goes beyond your nationalism. It's going beyond your race or your gender or your finances or whatever the case may be. It's a freedom that is not dependent on other people playing along. That's what the cross was about. He says, you are slaves to yourself, and I came so that you can be free from you. What just happens? What just happens when we go, wait a minute. Maybe I'm free in this moment, but I'm not free from my humanity. I can't be self-reliant. I can't do for my family what I want done. I can't be the be-all, end-all. The most self-reliant people are going to be the ones that struggle with this the most, just so you know. But when we reach the end of ourselves and we realize that this badge of self that we've been carrying around and using it, so I can do this, I can do that, I'm okay, I can, When you realize the limited nature of what that kind of human freedom brings, that's what salvation is, that moment. See what I just did? When you take self and you look beyond self and you go, you take that. That's salvation. That's what salvation is. That's Jesus saying, we'll trade. It's not Jesus saying, get down and be a slave. You get down and you bow. Jesus is going, give me the restrictions and I'll give you the freedom. I'll give you the freedom that even as you are being punished on a cross for your own violation against humanity, even as you are being punished and deemed, listen, please don't miss this, even as society is deeming you so worthless to be put to death, Jesus sees you as a life worth saving. It's a freedom that goes beyond our understanding of freedom. It's a freedom that goes beyond self-reliance. It's a freedom that says, give me Jesus, because it is Jesus who then issues. It's Jesus who issues our freedom. Every other servant, every other master, every other follower, everything else leads to more and more restriction and more captivity. You know why you don't trust God is because you have seen your servants in the past restrict you, and you're afraid that God might be like one of them. God's going, I came so that you can have life and life more abundantly and that you can be free. Why? It says it is for freedom that you've been set free. Why did he set you free? So that you could stay what? Free. Let's pray. Lord, for the people who are listening to this on whatever platform, whatever day, God, the reality is it's not going to be the moments of pleasure that drive us to you. Because sometimes when we're in control of our own lives, it feels good. It feels like this is okay. We don't think about sustainability issues. We don't think about what happens 30 or 40 or 50 years down the road, which is inevitable. I mean, the future is coming. God, we can put off the concept of our need for you for a short period of time. But God, for people who've been in it long enough now to realize that self doesn't lead anywhere, self just leads to more bondage and more captivity. For those of us, God, that are just the people that are piled up in debt and working for someone else, people that are in marriages where they're just a slave to the things that they've created for themselves, God, they're a slave to a bad marriage because they haven't been a contributor or whatever. Like, Lord, everything that we do leads to bondage. But Galatians says that you came so that we could be free in a way that we couldn't create for ourselves. God, that we are limited, that when we reach the end of our road, we take off our badge of self and we set it down. Lord, that is what salvation is. It's a reliance on you and your goodness. And as a result, God, you issue us a freedom from the things that make us human. We are free to live life with an eternal mindset, not a limited, panicked, chasing life from the back of the race. God, you put us at the front of the race. You put us in the lead, and you go, just live with a freedom and a peace today that's available to you only through Jesus. Pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
I'm going to ask as a favor that you give me 30 seconds. I know that you got a busy day. I know you got a lot going on. If you're going to be doing other things for the rest of the day, give me 30 seconds. Don't click off. Romans Chapter 1, verse 20 says it this way. I'm just going to read it straight to you. It says, for since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen,
being understood from what has been made so that people are without excuse. So when we look at what's going on in the world right now, I know that the chaos and everything that's going on, one of the things that you hear people discussing is like the economy. And when you study the economy, what you find is that the reason people are not making money is because people are not spending money. And you go, how is that possible? What Romans chapter 1 is talking about, Dr. Timothy Jennings teaches about this in A God-Shaped Brain. He said that we can see the nature of God, which is love. The nature of God is love. And you can see that in our planet. That water is the number one ingredient that keeps our planet living. And the way that love works is it's giving and it's receiving. It's like a circuitry. It's like being connected to take in and to give out. And so with water, what you see is that the oceans give. They give water to the clouds. The clouds give water to the land. Land gives the water to the plants and then back to the ocean. And so there's a cycle, there's a circuitry, and that is what creates life. Oxygen, if you breathe in oxygen, that was created by the plants. You breathe in the oxygen, your body transfers it into usable material, and you breathe out carbon dioxide that feeds back to the plants. You see the circuitry? If you were to breathe in and then panic and go, what if there's no more air for the next breath? And hold your breath. The same air that you were to breathe in turns into poison and begins to kill you. And so when Romans talks about God's nature being seen, what it says is the circuitry of love. We're talking about giving for just a second, and I cannot encourage you enough to at least consider the concept of water and oxygen and our economy. And you go, how is the economy broken when people stop spending? Because naturally you would think if people stop spending, everybody would have more. What God demonstrates to us right now is that our willingness to continue to give and to operate in this life keeps the economy going, keeps the church going. We want to continue to grow and improve and reach further into our communities. So the nature, when I used to feel like kind of hesitant about talking about giving, I don't anymore. When you see the life of how our life is demonstrated, even on this planet, one of the things that God is encouraging us is don't feel free just because you chose your own cell. Just because you chose your own prison cell, well, I'm free because I chose it. I love that God encourages us to get outside of ourselves, look outside of the window of ourselves, to continue to give, to demonstrate a confidence that God is our provider, not the economy. I don't know how many of you guys in the last 2 or 3 weeks have just kind of swiped over on your phone to see what the Dow Jones is doing. I've been guilty of it too. I want to encourage you to keep your confidence in the provider, who God is. Every time it rains, remember that is the sky giving you water that you didn't earn. When you breathe in, that's the plants giving you oxygen that you don't deserve. That is God's nature being demonstrated for us so that we can understand it. I want to thank everybody that has jumped on and given. We got so many new people giving. People that are giving from all over the place that we don't know. We're actually growing right now into new territories because of everything that we see going on. If you will text the words Shiloh Ranch, no space, Shiloh Ranch with no space, Shiloh Ranch, to the number 77977. So if you're on your cell phone, type in 77977 and text the word Shiloh Ranch. It takes you right to our giving platform. It's secure. It's completely safe. For those of you that have asked, our church is P.O. Box 177, Powell, Butte, Oregon, 97753. Is that right? 97753. Anyway. But anyway, we want to thank you guys for jumping on there. I love the intellectual teaching that God gives us about giving. I feel so much more comfortable sharing once I understood the nature of giving. That's giving, taking, that is this demonstration of love. I'm so much more confident talking about it. Thank you guys for everybody that's jumped on. Love you guys.
Precious. that today. You are so good. God, we just thank you for this time of worship. God, we just ask for your presence in our lives. And just help us to remember in this season that you are so good. You are a good father. You're a good friend. And we can rely on you for everything we need. We love you and we praise you. Amen.
Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in today. Hey, we're excited. We've actually added another service time, another live service time for tonight at 5 p.m. So we're excited about that, and we just want to invite you to come back or invite new people that might have missed it this morning. So we're going to be live again at 5 o'clock p.m. We're going to be going into our Q&A here soon as well. So if you've been writing down questions, get those ready, and we'll be answering some awesome questions.
Yeah, I'm excited about the tonight thing. We haven't had a 5 o'clock service ever. I mean, it's the first time we've done an evening on Sunday night. We're excited about it. I know you're going to probably go home, You're going to stay home and spend time with your family. But 5 o'clock, if you'll tune in, it's 5 o'clock Oregon time. That's like, I don't know, 6 o'clock Colorado, 5 o'clock. No, 7 o'clock Texas. You'll figure it out.
Google it.
But yeah, we're excited. It's a live service. So if you're going, it's just going to be a repeat. Like the sermon will be the exact same sermon. So if you watch this and there's somebody you want to share that with, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, everything else like this part will be live. And so we're excited. I'm actually leading the race for all the Shiloh Ranch staff for weight gained during the quarantine. So I'm going to go work on that between now and the time we get back. It's not easy. I'm staying dedicated. We're going to go into a time of Q&A. I will admit this is my favorite part of the service. I love this. I love the fact we've talked about it before at length, but when it's live and there's people like right now, there'd be chaos and people in and out. And I know that there have been like at times lines of people wanting to talk at different places. And so, the guilt that I feel of not being able to get to everybody, this has been awesome. And so we want to make sure to just carve out some time and answer some questions you guys might have. If you're new, if you don't know, if you don't know us, if you don't know where we're at, if you have any questions about the cattle program, if you watch the opener, the cattle project, we've committed to upping our beef donations 166% over the next few months. If you have any questions about how that's going, I'll answer them. Awesome. If
you think of new questions today, you can come back at 5 and ask us then.
Literally, like for instance, how much weight have you gained? Personally, 6 pounds. I'm at 6 pounds.
Just roasting
since
himself
I
over
started.
here.
I got asked yesterday if I was literally. This is yesterday. Somebody goes, "Are you getting fat?" It's a true story.
Jenny AG asks, "Can you tell how to give again? What do I text?" You're going to text.
We'll put it in the comments. We're going to put it in the
that's a
comments
good
right
idea.
now. But it's P.O. Box 177, Powell, Butte, Oregon 97753.
So that's
Or
for mailing.
you can text. Levi's going to get on here and give you all the info. You can text Shiloh Ranch with no spaces. You got to text no spaces. Shiloh Ranch. Shameless plug for financial freedom. Dave Ramsey is offering FPU for.
I'm gonna finish that thought really quick. Shiloh Ranch to 77977.
And you text with no spaces.
With no
what
spaces.
it'll do is it'll bring you to the link. We use PushPay, which is our online giving. We're up to I think 100% of our giving right now is online. But it works great. It's completely secure. It's a company we've been using for years, so it's been great. If I may, I have a big prayer for my family friend who's holding on to Jesus. I've learned I have to read this so that you'll know what the questions are. Hold on to Jesus as we speak. She found out not too long ago that she has cancer and it's aggressive. Unfortunately, hospice is already involved. Oh man, she is such an amazing angel and a mother and a grandmother, wife, friend, sister. She needs support in every way right now. She holds God's hand to bring her to heaven. Her name is Yvonne Bonfield and lives in Madras. Just send your prayers and help shower her in love through this time of pain. I love you guys. What a beautiful Easter service. Thank you for making this possible. Lord, just keep your hand with that family. That is, though, I mean, in a sense, what a blessing that we talk about. One of my favorite questions people ask is, how can a good God allow suffering? And that question opens that door to it causes suffering to be temporary. And if suffering is temporary, then it has no real eternal bite. The fact that God is there in times that she seems so desperate, that's what the cross was about. That's what Easter is about, that in times of that, we have something to look forward to beyond, instead of realizing like the clock is winding down. Those moments remind us the clock is winding up. We'll be praying, but
One thing we didn't mention throughout the service is that you can submit your prayer requests on our website, on our app. You can message it to the Facebook page. You can also email srccpray@gmail.com. And so we've been passing those along to our prayer team and praying personally. So just another reminder for you guys.
Sarah Jensen said, are there other options to view and watch live stream besides Facebook? There's a few. You can just go to like Safari or your browser or whatever it is and type it in, the Shiloh Ranch, Facebook / Shiloh Ranch, and it'll pop up just as an internet browser.
Mm-hmm.
It's still on the Facebook. But you can view it even from just the internet.
Yeah. And you can also go to our YouTube channel. It's not live streamed on our YouTube channel, but we always do post it later in the day. So head to our YouTube channel, subscribe. We've been gaining a lot of new subscribers, which is really awesome.
Oh, man. Kelly Hayward said, my husband's cancer treatment has been pushed out until further notice because of COVID virus. Need prayers. Absolutely. You guys, if these pop up as you're reading these, if these pop up and you see them, write them down. You guys be praying too. What's, Kelly, if you can comment his name, we'll put him on the prayer chain. Sarah Tatum, could you explain the depth of love God demonstrated with the cross? Honestly, I can't even begin. I mean, that's the joy of God, is that we don't have to fully understand it and grasp it first. What happens is that the more we get to know God, the more the depth of what he did. I think we won't fully grasp the depth until we walk into the other side of eternity. We experience what is a physical death and we walk into eternity. I don't think until that moment, I mean, we can't scratch the surface. The unfairness of the cross is unimaginable. It's an unimaginable unfairness. And that's why anytime that God gets accused of being unfair, it's true. He is. He is so unfair to his detriment and to our benefit that anything that we experience is so temporary, even when it doesn't feel like it, that by the other side, then we're going to look back and go, got it. Mm-hmm. More questions. We need comments that end with question marks. Terry Hayward. Okay, we'll be praying for Terry. Man, I can't imagine having like other medical stuff going on right now with all the craziness. I'm believing this thing has got to just be getting close to winding down. We've got to be getting close to light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, questions. I just said questions as a statement. Okay, ready? Questions.
Okay, I'm sorry. I keep trying. I put Shiloh Ranch and the whole text is going to, and the number in the text message space. Okay, you're going to send a text to the phone number 77977.
Hold on. Barbara, thank you for asking and trying again. I know that this is kind of new territory, but you type in the numbers. You're texting, like if you're going to text your friend's number, you text 77977, and the message that you're going to send is Shiloh Ranch with no space. See what that is? Like the numbers are who you're texting it to. Shiloh Ranch is the message that you're sending them. Mm-hmm. Best Bible study for women's Bible study.
She Reads Truth.
Haven't read it. Assume it's good.
It's great, yeah.
It says She Reads Truth. So
She Reads Truth, yeah.
Pass.
Okay.
No, because I'm...
I feel like I'm not doing very good today.
What are you talking about? I'm doing awesome. Keep asking questions. There's people on. I don't care how dumb the questions are. Ask them.
Yeah.
I kind of care. I care a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, if you guys, we've also, let me tell you, we got Lacey, we've got Levi, we've got Slink, we've got Jacob, we've got Jason, we've got Chris over there, we got Mary. So if you guys have any questions for them too, ask them.
Shout out to the team also.
Who's the best Central Oregon bullfighter? No one asked that. I just did. I was just kidding.
Oh, that's great.
If you guys want to see some cool bullfighting pictures, look up Eric Schwent on Facebook. He's got some cool bullfighting pictures.
Life Application Bible. Beth recommends that Bible. That's awesome.
See how cool is this? Like people are getting to interact and it's like they've even got, Mary.
Not a question, but thank you for this live service. Working Sundays makes it difficult for me to join in person, so the online sermons have been a great option. Oh, Bailey.
You know what I think? I think this is going to have to remain a part of what we do here because there's so many people. The world is changing.
Any roping scheduled for the future?
All I do is rope. Is that Callie or Kaylee? How do you say that? We do have Sunday school for kids. If you'll look up what, Mary?
So it's Shiloh Ranch Kids, right, Lacey? Kids Church.
Shiloh Ranch Kids Church.
And we have shared the link on the Shiloh Ranch Church page, but it's a link to a group. So you have to request access to get into the group just for privacy reasons. If you have trouble getting into the Kids Church group, send us a message. I'll get you connected with Tab and we'll make sure that you get in there for your kids.
I'm going to bet, I might be wrong, but I'll bet Teresa Irvin is keeping track of these prayer requests. And
Yes.
Angie Shelby asked if we could add her husband, Russ.
Yes.
Surgery's been put off. He's in a lot of pain.
How do you guys film the stuff? Like, what is the setup? Wow, that's a question for Jacob
Bailey
and Levi.
Shelton says, I has to remain apart.
It has.
I know.
It
I just thought it was
has.
funny. You can remain apart if you want to, Bailey. That's fine.
Oh, the setup for live streaming.
Did you guys possibly
We'll
see
talk
my
about it
painting from the
someday.
1017 project? I will look it up. I haven't yet. It has.
Ooh,
That becomes, how does that freedom manifest itself in people's lives? Here's how. I love that question. Is that drink carbonated, Brooke? No, it is not. I'm going to get back to the question. Lyle Beck was dating a bullfighter back in the day. Okay, hold on. I'm going to get to these questions. Oh, I love it. Okay. It demonstrates it in a life that is not bound by circumstances. If your life depends on circumstances for freedom, you're not yet free. Freedom in Christ has the option, like no matter how restricted you are on the outside, your spirit has the freedom and the choice on the inside to go to Jesus and go, God, I know this is temporary. And see, instantly you begin to experience freedom that says no amount of restriction can take away choice. And that's something you'll have until the day that you go meet him. Okay, last week there was a reference to politics. It made me wonder why Jesus doesn't seem to involve himself in politics, because he's awesome. God doesn't depend on humans for the solution. I love that. God never looked at people like, are you guys going to do anything? Like, God is God, and says that no leaders are in place other than what he is allowed to be there. And so I think this is just my opinion, but there is no solution. Like, if you are a Republican, you might be convinced that every problem we have is the Democrats' fault. Mm-hmm. Democrats might be convinced that every problem we have is Republicans, and that is a restriction. You've got to get to a freedom that says regardless of politics. Because what about, like in these areas where people are actually being like put to death for things that are not completely fair, completely unfair? Those are still politics. Mm. And what God is saying is like there is a solution that goes beyond politics. Can we go back up just a little bit? I love that. Who's your favorite aunt and uncle? I have lots of aunts and uncles watching this right now.
All right. Is the 5 p.m. service a different service than the 9:30
It is a different service.
a.m.?
Same sermon, different. Everything else is different. So we record the sermon on Thursday because a lot of times I'll mess up and I'll say things I shouldn't be saying. And so we record those in advance. No, I'm just kidding. We record those in advance. NTR opens June. There you go. Is the 5 p.m. service. Okay, hold on. When will Lacey be back on during the week? Oh, I enjoyed to get to know her. You know what's funny is people are like, I didn't realize how many people are like, I love getting to hear her talk. So many people. She's like a snow leopard. Like, you see her and you know she's out there somewhere, but you don't get to see her very often. Okay, please pray for my son Matthew, whose plexus nerve block and vascular surgery has been postponed. Oh my gosh, until after. He's 17 and excruciating nerve pain constantly. Barbara, I've got not at all the same, but I deal with nerve pain, and I cannot be more sympathetic. We'll be praying. Can you share for those who have not done so how to accept God's freedom, how to be saved? Jesus. You believe that Jesus has a better option for your life than you have for your own life. We've turned it into such a formula, like you have to say it this way and do it. If you believe that Jesus did what he said he did and was who he said he was, you lean into that. That is what salvation is. It's a belief that Jesus is the solution that you can't be for yourself. Okay, can we go back up? Can you comment on the fact that Jesus said, a thief on the cross, you will be in paradise with me today, in light of Matthew that says that the saints who were sleeping rose. So when a believer dies, do they immediately go to heaven? Okay.
The sermon after the sermon.
Before Jesus, there was what was called Abraham's bosom. There's like a holding pattern. It talks about the prophets actually walking the earth before they were taken up. It's my opinion that spiritually we are there instantly. That's probably a conversation actually. That's probably more like a book for later, but I won't circle back to that. Instantly into heaven, in my belief. Tech question: are you putting your live stream on YouTube, not just Facebook? Have other people that are not on Facebook? I do not want to share this with live, but I do share. Yeah, it's on. Listen, I'm gonna like scream this into the microphone. Go subscribe. I'm just kidding. Jacob just went. Go subscribe to YouTube. Go subscribe to our YouTube. And if you're like, I don't have a YouTube account,
make one.
Get
you can
one.
make one with a Gmail account.
Get one.
If you have a Gmail account,
you can log in. Yes, thank you. We love Lacey. Oh, Lacey loves you. Lacey loves you guys too. From Brandon Grindle. Best advice for sharing Jesus today with friends who aren't Christians. They're going to catch it before it's caught, not taught. What I mean by that is, like, I know Brandon a little bit. He was on. If you guys haven't checked out the interview with Brandon Grindle, do it. I like that he is creeping on y'all's social media, Brandon. You can get his social media. It's okay. It's caught, not taught. What I mean by that is, I heard a guy say one time, love people so much that it causes them to ask why. Mm-hmm. When it causes them to ask why, that's where Jesus gets introduced. But so many times it's like we rush right into you need to know about Jesus. And it's like, like the sandwich board approach. But if you will love people so well, and I don't mean like target them with an agenda, make it a point that wherever you go, that Christ is enough of a source that is emanating. You're operating from an excess instead of a deficit. Because I think sometimes people view it like they have the quota, that they have to save so many people or God's not going to let them in. And like, if you operate from an excess that says there's nothing you can do that would cause God to love you less, but there's also nothing you could do that would cause God to love you more. When you own that and live in it and operate in it, what that allows you to do is wherever you go, it's just emanating. It's just who you are. That is, to me, what would cause more interest in Jesus than like running around trying to sneak attack, like combat evangelism. It's not live on YouTube, only after you post it. No, that's right. It's the YouTube, for some reason, we had trouble with it glitching, Greg. And so we just went Facebook to begin with. And then everything that we're doing will be, so they'll get to watch. They just wouldn't get to interact with comments. Did we miss any? Did we go back up? Was there any questions that we missed?
Don't think so.
Hey, if you guys haven't checked out Lone Star Cowboy Church, Randy and Darla, if you guys haven't checked out their live, it was awesome today. They had it in the arena. They had like the whole concert structure thing set up. It was really cool. Lone Star Cowboy Church. Do you know that they volunteered Cody Johnson to come up here and hang out with us for a week? They said that. They said that they're going to send him up. Just kidding. For you guys that don't know, we're not at all jealous, but Cody Johnson may or may not have led worship.
Cody Johnson, Mary McLean. Just kidding.
When Cody comes up and sings, we'll have Randy preach, and then everybody will be happy. Really enjoyed JD's interview. Enjoyed the way you two conversed. You should have him on again, maybe with his wife. Question mark? Yes. Yes, we should. I added the question mark so that I could answer it. I haven't met his wife, but I love JD, and so I'm curious. It would be interesting. I haven't met her yet, but she was saying, speaking of prayer requests, she works with children that are in abuse situations. If you guys want something to pray about this week in the midst of everything, she said that the reports of child abuse have gone down, but children are home. And so like at first you're like, oh, that's great, the child abuse cases have gone down. But what that means actually is that teachers are usually the ones that catch it. The school administrators and officials are the ones that catch the abuse in school. And so these kids that are home right now aren't having anybody that's kind of looking out for them. And so if you guys are praying this week, pray for the kids who this quarantine is affecting so negatively. That's just almost even like a hard one to talk about. Like that's rough. Hey, you know what's crazy? I have flown to Texas and preached for Randy since we've been up here. Like what, Lacey? Like 5 or 6 times, 7 times maybe? Like every time he calls, I'm like, you know what? Sure, I'll come down there. I'd love to come help you out. I would love to come to where you are and preach for you at your church. That's what I do when he invites me. Isn't that cool? It's crazy to think about, huh?
I sense a little bit of hostility going on.
No, but you know what? In fairness, him and Aunt Darla did come up.
In
they
fairness,
did.
It is Easter.
At Brasada on the cafe.
Ooh, that was a long time ago.
Remember that back there?
Happy Easter.
27 years ago when we were at the cafe. Need to pray for the kids, absolutely.
Those breakfast burritos, though. Holy cow.
Man. I don't know that we might be the first church, I don't know, maybe we're not, that just opened up a full-on concession stand at the back of church. Carrie Jo we asked her, like, would you mind just opening, like, remember people go back there and, like, buy food during church. Randy, come up here and speak. We'd love to see you. John Umhauer. Hey, you guys, shout out to John Umhauer. He came and got Jet yesterday at 4:30 in the morning, took him turkey hunting, drove him around, hung out with him. Book a date for us to come see y'all. We will come.
Tomorrow.
You tell me when you're open. It's happening. This is happening. Did you guys see that? We got an agreement in writing. I agree with him, and my heart's so breaking. Absolutely. Anyway, so yeah, shout out John Umhauer. Came and got Jet. Jet was up. I think Jet literally got up at 2 o'clock. Well, no, but I mean, like, they got to, hey, someday we're going to get a video of Cody Shea demonstrating her opinion of what a turkey sounds like because when they got home, Jet was going over the fact that they heard some. They didn't get any, but they heard some, and so Cody recreated it. It was awesome.
That's great.
We're not going to be done yet. I'm having fun doing this. You guys jump on. Come on. Participate here.
We better have a dang lot of questions at 5 o'clock.
A dang lot.
At our 5 o'clock
A whole
service.
dang lot. Shelly Buckner just texted me and says, is Cody Johnson really coming to the church?
I don't know.
I don't know. He's not. But I don't know. We have a lot of steers.
Everyone tweet him.
Maybe we can bait him up here with all of our roping steers.
Random, but I live right down the road and would love to help out with the cattle kitchen. How do I get involved? Send an email to administrator@shilohranch.com and we'll point you in the right direction.
Right now we're like burning weeds. We're gonna start wrapping trees. I have made up my mind that we've got this time. We might as well use it. We want to like wrap the trees. There's some all kinds of stuff. Jason Graham has been running our volunteers. We've had a few
Shout
people
out.
that have said that they're either furloughed at work or stuff like that. And so I want to make a point. Like, we got the time. We might as well take this opportunity so that when people come back, we've got a lot done. I know there are a lot of people that are just wanting something to do. And so we're going to absolutely make that a priority.
Stephanie missed the service this morning. We're doing a service at 5 o'clock
5 p.m.
tonight.
and it will be a live service just like this one.
Yeah, it's going to
Jump
be
on.
fun. After our Sunday naps.
After our Sunday food. There's more. I'm getting text messages here.
I know, my mom keeps
Come on,
texting
don't
me,
text.
telling me
Put it on
to,
where we can see it.
say things.
Aunt Darla, if you want to call me a chicken, you can do it in the comments. It's okay. Love to
Randy
see
and
it, Lone
Darla
Star.
should
Thank you.
text Cody
Thank you, Jennifer.
Johnson.
I'm going to be there October 5th. Spoiler alert. I don't know if that's supposed to be out there or not, but I will be at Lone Star on October 5th.
That's
What
great.
part of the Bible addressing going through difficult times with family relationships is there one? You know, Taylor, yes. Okay, here's a question. I forgot to read it out loud. What part in the Bible best addresses going through difficult times with family relationships? Is there one? I know this sounds cliche, but I promise you, all of it is in reference to conflict. The entire Bible is a reference to conflict and how we address that. So here's what I want to say is that if you will go to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, that's the first 4 books of the New Testament. It talks about Jesus. Jesus was constantly dealing with conflict. He was constantly dealing with people who were opposing him. And what was so cool is that Jesus was so God that he didn't feel tempted to get into the minutia and argue about the little petty things. So many things about Jesus was that he would just love people. And even in his honesty, what he was giving them is truth that was beneficial for them, not to reflect better on himself. Okay, how does Mary choose her songs for the service? Well, we have a hat in the back, and we shake it.
It's really interesting because I feel like a lot of, maybe not all churches, but a lot of churches, the worship leaders and the pastors talk about what maybe the pastor is going to talk about that weekend, and they kind of coordinate what songs they're going to sing. But I don't think I've ever done that. I've never known what Jordan is going to preach about on a Sunday, probably.
That I swear that's one of the most miraculous things. I know
Yeah.
that worship songs are in reference to Jesus, sermons are in reference to Jesus. So
Yeah.
to some degree, we are limited into a
Right.
theme. But how many times, like Mary will start a song that is absolutely in direct correlation to what the sermon was about, and we haven't. I mean, we don't ever talk.
And most
the
of the
only
time-
request I ever have really is Silent Night.
Silent Night. Most of the time it's like Saturday night at maybe 11:30 p.m. when I'm trying to fall asleep is when I think, oh, I need to sing that song, and then it lines up. So it's great.
Mike, what part of the letter to Galatia? I'm going to ask for more specifics. Would you please explain a little more on Romans 1:20 fits in with the O2 cycle, water cycle, etc.? That is Karen. That is absolutely my favorite thing about that book. Is it talks about that our circuitry, our blood, the way that our blood works, is that it cycles oxygen through our entire system, and our heart being the pump in which we take in and that we give out. When we give Jesus our heart, we give him our love, the mechanism of how we take in and give out love. And so like electricity, when you turn a light switch, it takes in electricity and gives out electricity, and it brings life. Water cycling through our planet brings life. Oxygen brings life. And so that's what I know this is kind of maybe a harsh reference, but in the Old Testament, when the Bible was talking about sacrifice, which by the way, we don't do anymore because Jesus, but it talked about severing the circuitry of the animal. And that when we sever the circuitry, death is the result. And so if you look at fear, what fear does is it still takes in, but it doesn't give out. And what it does is when we won't give out because of fear, we hold on to it, or we don't accept love because fear, that what it does is it separates us from the circuitry of love and life, and the result is death. Relational death, spiritual death, emotional death, financial death is when we are unwilling to cooperate with the cycle of taking in and giving out. What's so amazing to me is like right now, the economy is founded on taking in. Yes, that is a part of it. You've got to be able to make or earn a living, but being able to then turn around and spend and cooperate or live in the circuitry or the cycle of an economy is what builds. And as the economy builds, everyone benefits from it. How crazy is that somebody benefits financially from others' willingness to spend money? So it's a cool reference. Jordan, do you still travel to the church in Arizona often? Yes. And if I pay for the beef you raised to donate, if I wanted to pay for the beef you raised to donate to the family in need, how would I do that? Barbara, if you don't mind, would you reach out to the 1017 page on Facebook? We'll walk you through the whole process. The church in Arizona is seasonal, so it's November through the end of April. And the reason that we have invested, so I know it's a smaller church. I think we're like 130 people this year. But when we invest into that campus, what it does is it kind of sharpens our stick, so to speak, on how to create a better online platform. So much of what you're seeing right now is an absolute direct benefit from the time and the money and the resources that we put into the campus there in Wickenburg, both campuses in Wickenburg. We were so prepared because actually, how crazy is this? If you're a part of the Arizona campus, thank you, because by doing that, we were prepared when this happened to go online. Jacob, Levi, everybody that has jumped in, Chris, everybody that has jumped Slink, everybody that has jumped in. I started naming names. I'm like, What it did is that when we were ready to go live here, it was just a natural transition, and it was absolutely because of the 120 or 30 people that we started to see in Wickenburg. So it was a blessing. Like I know that like the campus here, we're considerably larger here, but we knew that we needed that as an aspect, and now the small campus is benefiting the larger gathering here. Mike, I want a follow-up. I know you're watching. What was the problem with the church in Galatia that Paul was addressing in his letter? I want more specifics because I don't know if I know the answer. Grace versus the law is what Lacey's saying. Here's the law. Augustine said this in his writings, and I said it last week. Here's what the law, because of our humanity, here's what the law does. If I said right now, if you're watching and I said, do not think of the color blue. See what just happened? The law created an appetite. And Augustine said when he was a kid, they had an apple orchard next to him. And his parents said, do not steal apples from the orchard. He said he didn't even want apples. It wasn't until the law was introduced, because of the law and how it interacts with our humanity, that it creates an appetite for it. That's why you see a lot of times kids raised in a very, 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 very strict home that just go buck wild when they get out of the house is because the law created an appetite. Augustine said he stole apples from the orchard based on the rule not to, and he said he didn't even want the apples and he fed them to the pigs. So when you look at the law, it's not that the law is bad, is that our direct response to the law is flawed because of our humanity, because of a sin nature. So when you look at grace, grace is the fulfillment of the law, that instead of saying, don't think of the color blue, what we're able to say is think of the color red. See how that's a positive action in response. Grace is that the law has been fulfilled through Jesus. The law was good, but it brought about death. You can look in Romans, the law brings death. So when somebody teaches the law, you better not sin, I might as well be standing up there going, you better go sin. It's no different because our response to the law is so flawed that it needed someone to come and fulfill it. What do you hope we as Christians learn through all the current things that are going on? That we are bigger than we thought, that we're larger than we thought. We're not restricted to the freedoms that are handed down to us by the people in authority, that we're experiencing a peace that goes beyond our circumstances, a peace that passes understanding. So Tyler, specifically, one of the things I'm enjoying is being home and being with my family and realizing there's nothing I'm missing out on. I need to be able to live in that sort of a peace when this is over. I'm going to be completely honest. I want people to go back to work. I want people to start being able to make a living and going back to like where they can get the surgeries that they need and things like that. I hope that this doesn't end until we get to a place where we can sustain it going forward. I think God is kind of reestablishing some values that we've needed for a long time. Great question. I was going to ask something like that. I'm struggling. How are we going to come out of this? I'm getting out there now, living my life. 1,000 different answers for that. Men's group still happening on Thursday mornings. Leah, it's not. But we've talked about doing like something like this on Thursday mornings for the guys. We just don't know how to keep the women out. I'm kidding. Great answer to the law. Thanks. Aw. Can you tell us a little bit about each member of the worship team? We love you, Mary, but tell us about the guys in the background.
Well, you guys know Levi, obviously, and
how old was Levi when he started here? 12? He's
Levi,
so
how
young.
old were
We
you,
forget how
16
young he
or
is.
17? 15? Stop. No, you weren't. Yeah.
Levi started on the worship team when he was 1.
When he was 1 year old. He had a beard already. Yes. Levi has been here since he was 14. He's amazing. Guess how old he is now? Just kidding. And then the other guy is actually Levi's older brother. His name is Jordan Wolf. He's been an awesome addition.
And then this
So-
year we've added, I mean, there's been some people that have rifled through. Katie
yeah,
Turpin has
Katie
been jumped
Turpin has
on.
been doing background vocals. That's been super awesome. But as far as the worship for right now, just with the worship videos, it's me and Levi and Jordan.
Judy Shepard said, is there a verse in the Bible that best describes what is going on right now with pandemic? You know what? I want to tell you this. I think we're better understanding humanity. I think the pandemic is not the problem. What it has exposed is the problems or the crust or the shell that sort of started developing around humanity, and our like maybe our isolationist is now being exposed. Our propensity for fear is now being exposed. And so when you go to the Bible and the Bible talks about the things that we struggle with as people, what you see when the pandemic shows up is this panic. I'll tell you this, I am so tired of people going, if you're not scared, you're irresponsible. You go jump in a lake. I'm so tired of it. Like, you're expected to be afraid. And if you're not afraid, you're not being responsible. Come at me, bro. Like, I'm not going to do it. I'm so sick of this herd fear mentality. Like, it is just such an indication. And then here's this, the tattling. Like, oh, I'm going to tell, like, just chill out. Quarantine, but do it in love. If you're quarantining, do it in love. Here's why. Fear is physically bad for you. You're like, oh, we're going to get sick. The fear is probably making you sicker than anything else. If you're struggling with anxiety, maybe go home and stop being afraid of everything and stop demanding that we're afraid of everything. Not going to do it. Show Levi, a lot of people are new. Levi, you want to grace us with that lovely bearded face? Levi, do you guys remember when you were in 6th grade and you were kind of going through changes and there's always that one kid that just instantly began to grow a beard and you're like, how? Good answer, Jordan. Levi Wolfie.
Gotta squat to be in frame. Hey.
Thank you. So that's Levi, everyone. we had that
that's
planned.
wonderful.
That's bet we.
I'm
we'll
so
plan that.
glad we don't have to be proper when we do this.
You know what? For everybody who thinks it's so nice that you guys are casual, it's literally our one card. It's the only thing we've got. That's all we got.
Should have seen us before the live stream started. We were very casual.
No. So I want to apologize to everybody that I don't get back to this week. If I don't call or text back, I have to be honest. There's been a development. A recommendation from a few of my trusted friends, people that I thought I could listen to and thought I could trust, gave me some advice. They're like, hey, during the quarantine, during the downtime, you should download TikTok.
It was me.
It's literally.
It was me. I did it.
Valerie and Garrett Jess also.
Okay.
And there's a few. And so downloaded it. If you guys have TikTok, what you'll find out is it makes fun of everybody who's over 22 years old. So it's literally just an app that reminds me how creative people are. But anyway, so that's probably where I'll be for the next couple weeks.
Yeah. It was fun because I send you TikToks.
Yes.
But then yesterday when you sent me a TikTok, I said, oh no, he did it. He downloaded TikTok.
It happened.
This is going downhill.
Yeah. There's going to be people who are like, do we need to do a wellness check? We haven't
download TikTok.
We haven't seen Jordan. Do not
He's
download
fine.
TikTok.
Boots and jeans with a clean sweatshirt.
Clean
You don't even need
sweatshirt.
a clean sweatshirt.
Clean sweatshirt. I remember one time I was at my dad's church when I was a kid, and I sat by Will Hamilton. I sat down next to him, and he's like, "Oh, you may not want to sit next to me." He was a garbage man. He's like, "I smell bad," and I'm like, "You're not gonna want to sit next to me." I love that the church is moving away from the proper, and you dress up and you look like just whatever's true. I'm so glad to hear you say that about her mentality. I was beginning to think I was just non-empathetic. Listen, I have absolute sympathy. If there's something that we can do, I want to do it. If God directs you to do something in love to help out, do it. But if it involves running around the house with your hair on fire like the end of the world,
Buying toilet paper.
come on.
When you do the sermon, do you speak to an empty room? Is it hard or funny?
It is difficult. And I tell you what, I personally, I enjoy getting to watch other people's sermons to see how they're doing, because this is a different season, and man, it's challenging. As far as speaking goes, obviously I talk all the time anyway, but what we do is we position people around the room, little insider baseball. We position people around the room so that I have points of people to look at. And then the other thing was we put the monitor in the back so you can kind of get an idea or a feel. And something about being able to see people and see a reflection of what people are getting to see has helped tremendously. Shout out Jacob again.
My mom just texted me and said Levi was adorable. He said, thanks, Mom. Oh, that's great.
Okay, hold on a second here. I'm getting...
So instead of texting us, could you actually comment things in the comment section, which is what this is made for? Or
What? Yeah, don't text me.
don't text us.
Jordan, do a TikTok dance. Prove your true...
I pride
Listen,
myself in I
listen.
have not learned a single TikTok dance, and I take pride in that.
I've never learned a TikTok dance, nor will I. I'm 37. I don't even, like, I will never make a video, ever. I'm going on record. I will never make a
I
TikTok
used to
video,
say
ever.
that too.
I just like watching people's creativity. But I will tell you, like, if there's a downtime and I'm just walking through the day, like, not paying attention, the first two words that jump out, like, because of TikTok, thank you, is...
Carol Baskin.
It just pops into your head. Yeah, I can't get away from it. It's like, I swear, it's ridiculous. The Carol Baskin TikTok.
Gonna
No
wrap this up so we can go watch the
bueno.
new episode.
Yeah, no. What?
Oh,
No,
what?
I didn't. Of what?
I don't know.
I don't. that's
TikTok.
weird. Anyway.
We're spiraling.
People are like, we're not going to watch this church anymore. How many of you guys, I'm curious, like, when this gets lifted, I'm curious whether or not people are, like, instantly wanting to get back to church, or if they're kind of hesitant or cautious.
I felt a bit heavy this week. Not knowing
I feel
that
heavy too.
I was trying to be serious.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I was like almost mourning the fact that we weren't going to have live church today.
Yeah.
And it was Easter, but I'm still having fun.
I'm going to be
This is
honest,
okay.
and you guys can hold it against me. I love the concept of Easter, but the Easter service is not my favorite, because you get to see new people and stuff like that, but there's a different feel. It doesn't feel like as Jesus focused as even some of the other services,
Sure.
because you get so many people that are just kind of there checking a box, so to speak. I swear it's almost like the week after Easter is my favorite, because you're kind of like, hopefully something triggered on Easter that causes people to come back.
Yeah.
But in response to that, because I knew there weren't going to be people here, there is kind of that weird sense of like, oh man. But we've had people mowing and burning and cleaning stuff up. We're replacing the dirt in the arena.
Well,
I would
Scott
love-
Johnson's in the parking lot right now. Just chilling.
Hi, Scott. But that's kind of what's triggered me, of like, hey, there's people that are wanting something to do. There's people that actually, I would say, almost need something to do, to show up. And like, instead of like, okay, let's just wait it out. Like, we can get aggressive and really even on our outside stuff, so that when people do start to come back, it's going to look like a whole different
Our
place.
landscaping is going to be impeccable. It's going to be
Literally.
TikTok worthy.
Okay. Yep. Beautiful littler than you. See,
Hey, at least I'm not talking about politics.
that's true.
Yet.
We should. Who
We
wants to talk
should.
politics? No, I'm just kidding. Chris
I'm
just
voting
raises
in
his
my
hand for this helmet. I can't even see Chris back there. I just see his hands like, I want to talk about politics.
Hey, I'm voting in my first presidential election this year ever in my life.
Weren't you 18 in the last
No, I was 17.
one? Oh, you should. Oh, yeah. Did you guys, okay, this is not political, but did you see the one that goes, hey, if I die from this virus, please don't let me vote Democrat?
Or Republican. It can be, it
It's
can
a
go
meme.
either way.
It's funny.
It's
Just
meme.
calm down.
Are you paving the driveway? Perhaps
I'm not
not.
sure exactly what that would cost, but I do know that it would be
We would buy new cameras before that.
11 bajillion. Yeah, hey, legit, we want to work on, just so you guys know, like, we're working on that, like, what a studio would cost, how it would look, how we could continue to do stuff like this. What we realize is we're able to reach so much beyond our walls, which is kind of our value anyway. And so we don't want this to shut down when it goes back to live. So to answer your question, we actually really like people leaving church with dirt all over their car. I feel like it speaks more to who we are. No, I'm just kidding. We just don't. I mean, financially.
Unless you're afraid of car washes.
Financially,
Like me.
yeah. There's a few. Financially, we just feel like that'd be great. Hey, if you're like do payment stuff and you want to just like make a donation and you want to come pay, we're not against
Straight up?
having pavement. But it's just not. It's not.
That
something
is
we've come
very
towards.
much adequate.
Okay.
Oh, man.
I wonder how long, if we just
We can
went
stay
silent.
here?
Well, just if we went silent, how long it would take the views to drop below 100.
Well, and if we just pretended that it was glitching, like
Yeah.
it was lagging.
Your laugh messed it up because then people know it's working.
Sorry.
All right. Well, hey, 5 o'clock tonight.
5 o'clock. Well, get on, come to the page at 4:50
Yeah,
or
4:55.
4:55.
Yep.
Because we'll start at 5 o'clock. You have all day to think about new
Forgive me if
questions.
this is aspect. Would you consider continuing live streaming your Sunday service after the pandemic? It is very nice to be able to watch and participate every Sunday instead of waiting for it to come to YouTube. We're working on that. Honestly, I know this sounds cheesy, but like that's what the giving push is about right now.
Right.
Like if you're out there and you're not able to get here live, we want to encourage people to continue to give. We want to expand this platform for that reason. Oh my goodness, I love Mary. Aw.
Thanks. I love you too.
I enjoy the live videos, but I miss the face-to-face. Watching videos live is great, but then I don't ever difference watching a concert live versus actually being at the concert live. No comparison. You know what, though? I'll tell you what. If you've ever been to a football game, like an NFL football game, there's the energy of the people, but it's a different experience. Like when you're in a group of people, they carry an energy. They say that if they video someone speaking for 30 seconds, if they just get a video of someone speaking and they measure the speed and the cadence at which they talk, they can now accurately predict how large of a city you live in. True story.
Interesting.
They can gauge how large of a city you live in based on the speed at which you speak, because there is an energy, there is like a volume or a currency that we operate on with people. So to your point, Karen, it's exciting the thought of getting back with people, but content-wise, I love that I know it sounds crazy. I swear I get more feedback from sermons doing it this way because people are tuned in and watching. Our team is laughing and I can't hear it, and I was trying to think. I'm trying to hear what they were saying.
I'm going to continue with all the stuff that we're doing throughout the week too, which we don't normally do.
And it's not even better or worse, but what's cool is that like I'm now hearing people reference the sermon like on a Thursday where normally they're there, they get it, I'm going to guess people retain about 10% of a sermon, where now it feels like that number is going up based on seeing it on video. Would you guys consider doing a live stream of your church and grounds for those of us who have never been there?
Church tour.
Awesome. Are you going to get Slink on a live feed soon?
Yeah, right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Prineville, Oregon. Yeah, I have to stand on my knees. I have to be on my... Ladies and gentlemen, Slink.
Yep, nope. Knees, yep. Hey, everybody.
Okay, you want to hear my favorite Slink story? He invited me to do like opening prayer at a bull riding one time, and it was like 15 minutes before the bull riding started, and he called me. He's like, "Hey, are you coming?" I'm like, "Yeah," and I just jumped in. I got there in time. But what was funny is like during the bull riding, Slink, the bullfighter, was over there helping the sound guys. Like, you need to turn down that. No, you got no that button. To the guy that's there running sound at the event, Slink, because of helping with sounds like, no, your gain's too, like full on bullfighter guard. But no, your gain down. Good, got it. I don't think the speed of talk applies to you, Jordan.
Whoa. Boom roasted.
I was raised in a big city. Would you guys consider doing a live stream of your church and grounds for those of us who have never been there? I think it'd be awesome.
A church tour on our TikTok.
Yeah, it's huge. It's amazing. You know what? Hey, I would tell you, Preston, everybody says the same thing when they show up. Everybody. And it's by design. When we built this church, we wanted it to have more of a home type of a feel than this big corporate cold warehouse kind of a feel. And so the square footage on this building is 10 or 11,000.
Not enough.
I mean, it's too small, but everybody says the same thing. They're like, it just kind of looks like a house. Like it feels like a home. And so don't be surprised. But I tell you what is awesome.
I actually live here.
That's not legal.
Free rent.
For Mary, are you working on an original song at the moment?
I'm trying.
Do you ever freestyle live? Like, I mean, is it ever just like
Ask Jacob. I freestyle all the time.
Okay, we'll circle back.
Okay.
Amazing job,
Lila
Shiloh team.
Pearson.
Oh, hi, Lila.
Hi.
Hey, you guys have got to check out. What was the video we were watching today of her and Joe? What was the title of it? If somebody wanted to go watch it. Yeah. Okay. Go to the praises. What is it listed under? Lila, type in the name of how people would find you guys online. Joe Pearson, for you guys that don't know, he's over all the time. We absolutely love him and Lila. They're some of our favorites. I've never followed you guys before, but a friend of mine shared this live feed, and I feel so welcome. I'm watching from Harper, Oregon. Hi,
Hello,
Kristen.
Kirsten.
Thanks for jumping on. Where is Harper, Oregon? I could Google it, but it just helps our comments if you tell us.
Someone will text you probably and tell you.
Here comes a text message. Don't text me. Type it on the feed. Every time I think I've got, rodeo, and you get pretty much the entire Northwest, you get to see where everything's at, and it never ceases to amaze me. There's always a town that I don't know where it's at. Jason, where's Harper, Oregon? So it's not near Sandy. So, hey, if you guys watch the interviews, one of the things that's been so fun to me is that everybody that gets on here is like, oh, we knew Jason Graham like 15 years ago. Everybody knows Jason. He's everywhere. I think I was the last person on earth that met him, and I thought his name was James for 2 weeks. Russ Paulson. Oh, hi, Russ. Thank you. I miss you guys too. Lacey and I, for you guys that don't know, we are going to, when this all kind of lifts, we're going to make a trip down there and just kind of have a 4-day vacation just to go to Wickenburg and probably do absolutely nothing. On the way to Ontario. Harper's on the way to Ontario. Oh, is it on, like if you go through John Day, is Harper up that direction?
It's 4 hours.
Well, but I know, but like
northeast
between Ontario and Burns is the size of a penny. My favorite kind of town. You know what's crazy? You want to hear something crazy? This is
crazy.
Okay, somebody's texting me. I bet somebody's texting me where Harper, Oregon is. Let's see. It
Who
is
it? Here, we'll post Jordan's phone number in the comments.
We won't do that. I was gonna tell you something. What's crazy is that when we moved up here, we didn't really know size wise and stuff what the church was gonna do. With the first like 2 years, this is what made me think of it. She said her town is the size of a penny. Mm-hmm. The church grew beyond the size of my hometown 3 years after we started. Like this church is bigger than my hometown where I grew up. Harper Alley PTA. I think it was Harper Valley PTA. But
could be.
I think we get the idea. Some of my absolute dear friends live out there in that part of the world. It's between Ontario and Burns. I don't know why I go through there all the time. I must have just not known it.
Well, think about how many people come through Powell Butte and don't realize it's called Powell
true.
Butte.
Shout out Ty and Stephanie Hawley, Chad Finley, all the Finleys out there in Mount Vernon. It's kind of that little part of the world, but it's further north.
This has been so
I think our tech team's getting bored.
Every single time we start to wrap up, people comment a whole bunch. So we'll start to wrap this up again. Just kidding.
Holly just texted me, you're doing great.
Mom,
Holly,
you're embarrassing me.
Comment where everyone
West
can see
of Vale on Highway 20.
Praise us publicly. JD Lamert is between Gentura and Vale. Okay, all right. I do think both avenues, live and video, have their benefits. Heart. Thanks for the options. Blessings. Happy Easter. Yeah, honestly too. Like we're excited to go back live too. I'm not anti-live, but we just don't want to give this up.
If you've gone to Boise, you've gone too far. Good to know.
Good job, Deegan. Gentura is such a cool little town. It's out there in the middle of nowhere, and then all of a sudden there's just these giant cottonwood trees. Okay,
so we're going to be live again at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
We're so excited. Are we going to be wearing different outfits? Are we going to change our outfits?
Listen, I'm going to tell you the honest truth. Like, clothing is not like, if you want to know the honest truth, I've got the Wrangler Pearl Snap shirts, and I've got like 30 of them, and that's pretty much what I wear every day. And I didn't even realize that until I started doing like interviews and stuff on camera every day. I'm out of clothes. I have no more clothes.
Yeah.
P.O. Box 177, Powell, Butte, Oregon. No, I'm kidding. Don't send me clothes. I won't wear them. Love the service. Feel blessed for being able to. Oh, thanks, Charmin. Charmin, how did you find out about the church?
Okay.
We're going to wait. Charmin, I'm going to wait until you respond. We just want to know where people are finding us.
Pizza Girl.
Pizza Girl. Feels a little reductive. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up. So here's the inside story. Charmin is friends of ours. Her daughter is friends of ours, and that's how we got to meet her, through her daughter. The cell you choose will be sinking in. See what I mean? The cell that you choose will be what makes your decision. See, that's what's crazy is like the sermon stuff is starting to actually, like people are grasping it. I swear there's something that's happening right now with people's ability to retain. I'll never tell. Now everyone wants to know.
Yeah.
Hashtag Lydia. Okay, well, we're going to wrap up. See you at 5. I
you
will
at
probably
5.
be wearing whatever I roped in.
It's
Also
a surprise. Come see what I'm wearing. I don't know yet. Okay, we're done.